I sort of put it together is like basically, if we are in this simulation, and through vibration and frequency, that we can tap into the multiverse, and by choice we can sort of create our own version of ourselves. So the game, meaning the game of life, and through choice and vibration, that we can be the own player in our game, and that is, where I sort of come up with this sort of concept of the name of my sort of show. And I, like outside of things, like I run sort of ultra marathons, and I meditate, and do breathwork sessions, and I do all these things that sort of make me level up. And the more I sort of tap into those choices in life, you just start to understand things clearer. You start to see things clearer. You get to see the map of the 3D matrix, and how the rest of the world, is all sort of caught up in this whole illusion of what's being projected. And yeah, so here we are today to speak about everything that I've stumbled upon and found, that adds up with everything that you present on your channel, and everything to the message I'm trying to get out as well.
Right on, man. And so you do ultra marathons?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Tell us about that. What's an ultra marathon?
Yeah, I know. The last one I done was 130 kilometers through the Northern Territory, which is the top state of Australia, which is in the middle. And I tell you something, I dragged one of my friends along, and he had 4 weeks to train. And, we just went out and we done it. And it was one of the most crazy experiences. Like, I ended up getting a helicopter to pick us up, and we took this, myself, but I took this helicopter ride, like over all the mountains that I just sort of ran, over the staged event of this 130 kilometers. And, it was just wild. That event itself was a wild experience for me, because it was like, it just proved the point that we can do anything in life. There's no limits, and it's ourselves that hold us back. And with all the madness that's going on in the world today, and all these limits and restrictions, and you can't do this, like my area, my town, they've got this sort of enforcement to say that we can't travel 10 kilometers out of our area, and to me, I think of that of sort of being shut down, to say, but everything that I've done in this whole lockdown sort of phase, like I've gone from state to state, I've run various runs, and I've done all these things. It goes to show that, like, we can do anything we put our mind to, and to just sort of level up, to say, yeah. So, but just
let me jump in on that.
Go.
Do you see this, what is playing out right now and unfolding, being orchestrated by, like, let's say it's a chess game, and let's use our words wisely here in this live action role play. So when you look at it like a chessboard, though, and you look at the opposing teams, it's as if there is a intergalactic / earthly / spiritual or spiritual. What are your thoughts on that? And so who's running the show? I mean, is it a group of people? Is it a group of people? Is it entities? Is it extraterrestrial? Is it just chaos?
I mean, I think it's all, if everything that we sort of put together of everything we've heard about in the past, and tie it all in. I mean, it's clear that they say that there are multi-dimensions, and there are different entities and different beings in other dimensions. And, we're only sort of tapping into this 3D. And is it something higher power in a 4D, that's sucking out our energies, as like to say, like a trade-off, that use our energies to to sort of fuel the fourth dimension through anxieties and through fears and stuff like that. And this is why we're sort of being beat down in this whole 3D reality, so we don't sort of get this, this other thing that is the distraction that's going on, which is the age of Aquarius and that ascension sort of thing, so we don't tap into that 5D, that upgrading consciousness and sort of, go through this shift. But, to answer your question, yes, without a doubt, there is higher forces at play, orchestrating this. And we're seeing like this, the grand illusionist, the puppeteer is playing this out. Like this mainstream has become the theater, and the from what I know and how far back I can see it, like I can see it as far back from 9/11. Like that was to me when we witnessed the first attack in this whole sort of thing that's being played out, like whatever category you put it under. Like, yes, this is the Great Awakening, and I keep on saying this, and I sort of express this part is like, it's not by chance that there's 7.8 billion people on the planet as reincarnated souls today for any other purpose except to be here right now for this, what's going on. Because if this is a battle of good versus evil and dark and light, that it's going to take all of us to wake up in the Great Awakening phase to beat this sort of attack that's attack on humanity, attack on our subconscious, all of these things that's being played out. Like it can't be by chance or coincidence that, we are all here as reincarnated souls right here in this moment, and to have the fact of, the age of the internet where we can get all this information, we can talk to each other, we can form this collective, and it's almost to say at the same time that this technology being the internet and social media and these platforms to connect, that, that there's not like this higher sort of force of consciousness that's tapped into the evolution of technology to show us all of this, and to make us more awake and to make us more aware of what's going on. And that, that now it's more clearer that, that again, we've seen it in 9/11, but now it's more clearer, like more and more people are wakening up, like this whole thing has been going on for a very long time. And look, I believe society is like under this sort of hypnotic spell, under this mind manipulation experiment. And it sounds woo-woo, but that is the design of it, and when you hear the people speak about it, that is exactly how it looks. That is exactly how it appears. That is basically the concept of the matrix. That is, basically the best way to explain the 3D version of it and the simulation version of it. And, it just it connects with CERN, connects with the Mayan calendar, connects with prophecies. Nostradamus speaks of all these things, and it's more and more clear as we go in that that this is all being exposed today for a reason. Do
you think we're in the Matrix like in the movie?
God, I mean, are we in a simulation? Like, I mean, we can be, and we just don't know. Like I look at it to say that if we can create Grand Theft Auto, and if man, like everything we look around us is what man has created, right? By thought, man has created everything that we see today. Okay. So if we go back in the 80s and I tell you that, in 30 years time, we'll be talking on this little black thing here, you'll think I'm crazy, right? So if I was to say to you, today, like what is the possibilities in 30 years time that we will not see the designer of the Matrix, and this is actually a part of, the game or the exposing of it. But if we have created games and stuff like that, and we do control a player in a screen, then what's to say that there's not something higher up or higher power up that's controlling us? If we can create this, who created us? And what's to say that those creators are not doing what we do to the Grand Theft Auto concept, to say like Grand Theft Auto game concept, So are we in the Matrix? I mean, yeah, we could be,
Now, what's interesting about that is in the early 2000s, I think it was around 2001 to 2003, there was an essay written about the simulation hypothesis and about the possibility of a very advanced civilization creating a simulation of themselves for continuation of consciousness in some way, even if it's a digital format or through a simulation. And in doing so, there's a very probable, like the possibility of a highly advanced civilization creating a simulation for survival and being destroyed, whether it was natural means or the sun or technological means or whatever those means, such as like the Fermi paradox. It really puts into perspective that there is a very strong chance that we are living in some type of simulation right now. And that doesn't make it not real. And in a simulation, you can feel, you can see, you can hear, you can have these different sensory perceptions, but some type of simulation that was created to keep this consciousness of life going. Maybe until there's a point that we reach another stage of evolution where we can jump from this simulation into something else. But think about that for a minute, to really consider the possibility of the likelihood of an advanced race creating a simulation for its survival, and that we are that simulation is fascinating.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're completely right. It is fascinating, and I mean, you can't rule out that is not the true possibility. I mean, you look at the system grid of society, like it looks like a computer board. Like it's in itself. It's sort of like this sort of 2D, 3D. It's more 2D, but the more we sort of advance, go into quantum computing and go into different sort of, I don't know, ways to, I don't want to use the specific word, but there's a specific word that we're about to go. We've gone from, 3D technology to 3G technology to 4G. And then there's the next one, like if we keep going, by the time we get to the 10th generation of technology, that maybe then we will be tapping into that, where this all began and this all created. And if even if we look at, say, the design of the gray alien, like what's to say that gray alien is not the version of us? And this is why, what's going on now, it's almost like to say this is sort of where civilization destroyed itself. And if the theory of the sort of simulation plays out, that it's like, well, we're sort of coming back to this time to see where we went wrong, and if you look at the gray alien, that if that is an evolution of us, no gender, they're trying to remove gender today, less talk, there's no mouth, communicating via the mind, but now we're communicating through, internet wires, which is sort of like, telecommunication, to say that, like, yeah, I mean, you can't rule out the fact that, is it not a possibility? Because it more than likely it is a possibility, and we're actually in the early stages, the birth of the simulation, where something may have gone wrong in the future, where they've come back to here to correct it, to say.
That's a great possibility. One thing I'd like to add to that, though, is the grays seem to be stuck in a state of consciousness that isn't even as evolved as many of us. And that's not being disrespectful, but I don't think they're the ones making the ships. I think that the grays are actually designed to do specific tasks. Yes. And there could be different beings that are gray out there, or that are similar to what people see as the grays, that are way above my pay grade and way above my consciousness. But most of these grays, man, like, think about it. Well, I was talking about this earlier today. There's been abductions throughout modern history for thousands of years. And a lot of this stuff's written about in the Bible. And there's a lot of similarities to modern abductions that took place 20 years ago, and stuff that took place 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, etc. So with that being said, how many times do the Greys need to do these specific experiments to get the information that they need, right? Wouldn't it make more sense that maybe they're an autonomous species that were created that are biological as well, but were given a specific level of intelligence, and they're in a they have a specific job to do that they perform in a task, and maybe that's where we are a little bit different. Like the gods gave us a little bit more of their, like one of the gods in particular, Enki, might have given us a little more consciousness than they wanted. And so now, like, we are like the gods in certain ways. I mean, I don't think I'm anywhere close to a demigod, but I mean, just mean in certain ways of thought and consciousness, it's talked about in these biblical texts. They are now like us, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you're not giving us enough credit. I don't know, but that's just my thought.
Well, maybe they're just too advanced. Like, let's say the Grey is 1,000 years of evolution of us. Let's say that, but it's like we look at sort of the pyramid times, we can't even get our heads around who built them, you know? So is it safe to say that the Greys can't even get their heads around us, you know, and like, what is this? And this is why all the tests and stuff like that. But if you look at sort of, you know, even sort of ants, the way that ants function, you know, human society functions like that. You know, if the ants is the if the alien is the ant version in the space realm, you know, like who is the queen ant in the space realm? If, you know, if it's just, you know what I mean? And consciousness might be that next sort of greater sort of. What?
Dude, sorry to interrupt, but you just gave me an idea. What if it's not a group of beings that are controlling the Greys, but just one queen ant?
Well, that's it, you know? Well, that's, I mean, you know, it could be. And, you know, one thing I've been doing lately, I've been doing this mentorship program, which is involved in breath work, right? And one thing I've realized through these breathwork processes is how we can go within, okay, and we can tap back into our inner self and reprogram the subconscious. And one thing I've found is, and I think that a lot of people speak about this when they tap into sort of like DMT and ayahuasca and stuff like that, and sort of the shaman realm, but I don't feel that this is a similar sort of experience. But one thing I found with the breath work, that 15, 20 minutes into the breath work, that you almost find a portal or a sort of a tunnel, you know, and you find your inner self. And once you find your inner self in your own little sort of world, there's like another portal that sort of goes off, which to me makes more sense to say, well, it's the universe, right, of consciousness, right, that you can tap into, but it's like a bit of a gateway. But what I found with the breath works, once we tap in within, is that within inside of us, that we are creation, right? And within inside of us, we are love. And within inside of us, we are actually God, to say, right? That we, and, you know, when you hear people talk and they go, we are all God, you know, we are all one consciousness or living the same experiences in different bodies, to say. But, you know, you go and look at sort of society and you see all the madness and all the chaos and all of this sort of distraction and all this subliminal programming and, you know, all this fear and hysteria and propaganda and false flags. Like you tend to sort of take a step back and have a look at it and you go, oh my God, like the 3D world is the biggest illusion distraction that's taken away from ourselves, which within ourselves, we are the secret within. You know, we are the secret to this whole concept, this whole design of life, to say, which could be a good segue into one thing I wanted to sort of touch on with all this as well, this stuff that's going on that, you know, today feels like it's a spirit war, that it's a race war. That sort of ties into all the stuff that, you know, that they speak about with the Akashic records and stuff like that. But, you know, a part of this sort of shutdown and the masking and the and that sort of movement, that, you know, you can see the like here over in Australia, and I'll tell you two things, Rex, and this is what stood out to me. That so basically when this whole let's use the word virus, when this whole virus thing played out last year in March, that I felt a bit of darkness play out when we went in the first stage of lockdown. I felt this sort of darkness within, okay? And I felt like that there was two timelines being played out, you know, like one being a dark timeline and one being a light timeline. And it was probably a couple of months after that, I started to sort of understand CERN and hear some stuff that maybe CERN was switched on like a few years ago that shift this timeline and broke this timeline in two. And, but I felt like this sort of darkness come within. And one thing that always stuck in my mind is when they started to close down the places of prayer and the places of worship in the beginning, right? They were limiting gatherings. You know, you couldn't gather with more than 5 people, or you couldn't gather with more than 10 people, you know. And you see that no places of prayer, no places of worship. You couldn't go to church. You couldn't do all these things, right? And it was just, okay, it is what it is, you know, whatever.
But dude, you can still go to the strip club. You could still go to the strip club in California
and get your
lap
alcohol.
dance.
Yeah.
No, you get a lap dance. You just, you had to wear your
essential.
mask, bro. You had to wear your mask, but it's important.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is a crazy thing, right? So, but with like all of that, like, you know, when they put all these calls out to shut down churches and stuff, like you could see what they were sort of doing in the design of it, where they were trying to close down the collective of good. Okay. And they were trying to increase the collective of fear and all of these types of things. Now, if you go and look at the boogeyman, which I call the boogeyman, and that is where the virus came from. I'm not going to throw the name of the country out there, but we all know where this sort of thing came from. But if you look at the recent years of what's been going on there with the concentration camps of the Uyghurs, the dismantling of the Christian faith throughout that country, also to the dismantling of like Buddhist temples and ornaments, and not ornaments, but landmarks and stuff like that throughout the country as well. And then now you sort of see this Western world and the Christian faith and religion get attacked as well, where you see, you know, that this may be a battle of good versus evil and dark to light. And we're going back what we spoke about in the beginning of these other forces that's sort of played. And, you know, as if to say, is this sort of like a space war? But one thing that, and again, this is what I'm hearing in Australia, and this is what blows my mind, you know, and, you know, everything that you speak about on your channel, like, and everything else that everyone else is speaking about around the world, where it all ties in and all makes sense to this whole great awakening and ascension sort of phase. But on the 20th of December last year, you know, like 4 days before Christmas Eve, that our media got up and said that that we're going into this smaller phase of a lockdown, and that we can't have large gatherings, that we can't go back to the churches and we can't go to prayer. So they attacked religion and they attacked the collective of unity, right? But this was on the 20th of December in Australia. And I'm like, holy crap. The 21st of December is the Great Conjunction, right? With within the 1 degree of that sort of star alignment of Saturn and Jupiter. And I sat back and I'm like, this can't be. You know, this can't be what I'm seeing, that's what they are projecting. Like, they are literally trying to shut it down. And yes, it's clear that this is a battle, you know, of good versus evil. And they are attacking, you know, unity. They're attacking us to unite through this time, this ascension time, this time when we should be upgrading. I know that you speak about the Schumann resonance and stuff like that, and all of these sort of solar flares that's being pumped out. And, you know, Australia's gone into more of a lockdown where they're restricting us from going outside. The sun is beaming, you know, all of this sort of energy that we can sort of, you know, consume to turn all this around. And it's just like, you know, it's utter madness that it's so clear to me, you know, and it's just so exposed. And this is like sort of what I'm constantly trying to sort of speak out about and sort of let people know as well, like especially here in Australia and through my channel and stuff, that like, you know, that we all need to pay attention to this, because this is a war on our consciousness. This is psychological warfare with the mass. You know, this is an attack on the human spirit. This is an attack on the species. And, you know, if what they say about what we can sort of evolve into through the 5D ascension, that maybe that this is everything that they're trying to stop us from doing. Like if we're meant to have 1,000 years of peace and happiness and this, you know, unity and sustainability within, that's why they're trying to shut us down. That's why they're trying to plug us back in. That's why they're trying to enslave us, you know, and it seems like that whatever age we've come out of, this age of Pisces, that if you look at what that has bred, like that's bred war, it's bred, you know, like all this corruption, it's bred all of this stuff. And we're seeing this sort of collapse of society and civilization, you know, with all of this as it goes through. So that makes sense now. You got it
does.
right.
And you know what it is it's the power and the house of Pisces holding on to their position, and they don't want to let go. And that's when you have these cosmic changes in the cosmos, it's connected to our planet, and the vibrational change. It sounds kind of cheesy when you say vibrational change if you don't really understand the concept that somebody's using, in my opinion. So the concept that I am using is the actual frequency of you, the actual frequency of your consciousness. And dude, what you said made me think about when you brought up how they did this lockdown out there the day before the 21st, which has a very significant astrological meaning and spiritual meaning. And if you read the Bible oftentimes, or if you read these mythological texts and scriptures, they will take planets and they will take constellations and conjunctions and they will create heroes. They will create figures and gods and goddesses. And that doesn't make the god or the goddess not real. They're just creating this anthropomorphic figure for people to understand. And so that's quite significant. And also, if you want to take this a step further, remember before that, at least here in America, there are the major protests going on because of George Floyd, and rest in peace,
BLM.
Man. But they used that as a way to, you know, say, oh, I can't breathe. And the protests. And so the age of Aquarius is supposed to bring fresh air and knowledge and freedom and giving of these things freely. And it's the age of man. It's the age of us. And whoa, man. And so what do they try and do? They're like, nope, dude, we got to put a stop to this right away. They're not going to evolve. It is not your age. You're going to keep worshiping us. You're going to keep worshiping the system, and you're not going to let yourself reach your divinity within, man. Wow.
Well, that's it, you know. And this is like the whole suppression on all of us, where look, I see that, you know, it's like they're losing grip, they're losing power. And that's why it's like they're sort of keeping people trapped in that 3D collective state of fear right now, so that they can just hold that last ounce and just use sort of like psychological warfare and poison our minds. And, you know, what you said about the Portland protests that the Democrats call it, but the riots where they burnt down, it was like what, 90 days it went for, that BLM sort of phase of Portland, like, you know, 90 days, and they just said, oh, you know, accepted it. But, you know, there's one freedom rally around the world and they shut it down, and they label anybody with the flag now as a domestic terrorist, and like, you know, that they're the real enemy. So, you know, it's exposed, you know, now.
Have you seen the terror alerts in the US now? They're doing the same thing they did with the MIAC back in the day. If you were US, you know, if you're in the US and if you're Christian, or if you question certain things about the agenda, or if you think that there's a banking cabal that might control a lot of what happens in people's lives based upon their power and influence of the media and industries, etc., then you were labeled as a possible domestic terrorist, right? And they're doing the same thing now. If you don't follow the COVID agenda, If you think that there might have been something malicious or inaccurate with the the counting of certain things, I'll just say it. I can talk about whatever I want to here on my website, dude. If you question the election, if you question the effectiveness of vaccines, if you question the COVID, then you could be labeled as a domestic terrorist. And you know what? It's like, this was what was done back in the Nazi time. People that weren't a part of the Nazi party were terrorists. If you didn't fit the Nazi party, you were a fucking terrorist. Wake the fuck up, people. They're labeling you somebody that believes in the freedom to express themselves and help others. You're a terrorist. Do you believe in God? You're a terrorist. Do you believe in freedom? You're a terrorist. Do you think for yourself? You're a terrorist. No, we're not terrorists.
Yeah.
We're people we're just not following their Borg agenda,
dictatorship,
designed off of what the Nazis did.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like if you look at the New World Order and this whole thing globally, like this is a global orchestrated event, and it's quite funny when you look at the countries that's projecting it. It's all the Commonwealth countries, like Canada, Australia, South Africa, Germany. Like you look at, it's almost like to say, like, are we witnessing the fall of the British Empire at the time of the end of Pisces? Are we witnessing the fall of the British Empire and the collapse of the American corporation with the collapse or the of the US dollar, to say? Because I mean, they're deliberately shutting down the economy to weaken the US dollar to roll out the Great Reset. Like it's clear what they're doing. Like you can't say that you go and look at the puppeteers, the Berkshire Hathaways and the real people that control the stock market. Like you go and look at their shares have gone up. All their money's invested in sort of a communist country, where I believe the real sort of command is coming from, because it's almost like to say that, when you tie in, one thing I actually do want to tell you, just made me realize, but when you tie in the threat, of what the media projects with climate change, right? That's just another fear. If it's not terror, it's cases, or COVID, or terror, or, ISIS. Like it's the same sort of drumming. But with this sort of climate threat, which I don't believe it's actually what they are saying it is. Like I believe this is sort of like, yes, we do need to change and become more sustainable, but the climate threat within itself, and they're sort of steering it towards saying, oh, well, it's capitalism, and this is where you see the weakening of the dollar and the closing down of the economy, which ties into capitalism. And then the rise of sort of the Chinese empire, which is socialism orchestrated by sort of a communist sort of regime. But, you piece all that together and stuff, and you start to get a gist of, it's not just happening in one country, it's happening globally, which again, part of the New World Order. But it's just all, so clear now, and it's all being exposed. And so it's nuts.
They were promised this. They were promised in 1947.
Yeah.
That if this just came to me, they were promised in 1947 that if they created, and they were promised before this as well, but a one world system to get everybody underneath that one world system, then they would be allowed in this galactic empire. But in order to enter this galactic empire, everybody has to be under one system of governance. And they think that by creating this false system to get everybody under their control, that's going to give them a ticket into this galactic council. And I don't think that it is. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to see this as a complete abomination. Yeah. And it isn't how you get a civilization to follow.
Yeah.
Like, well, dude, what are the great kings and queens? Like, what did they used to be? A great king or a great queen would do anything the knight would do, or anything. I mean, they would do anything they would ask somebody else to do. That's what makes a great, unless they can't, right? It's like, like I know I can't freaking climb Mount, do the stuff that gentleman did freehand, 4,000 feet, rock climbing. That I wouldn't be able to do that. My mind would just
Alex.
Out. Stud. Yeah, he's a stud. What's his name? Alex the Stud rock climber guy. I know he's a freaking boss, man. But I could at least say, hey, I can't do this. Can you do this? That's what makes a great leader, a great ruler, a great king, a great queen. Not one that sits back and says, do what I say, but don't do what I do.
Well, that's exactly it. And I mean, you're seeing the politicians, dictate what you should be doing, but they're just doing whatever they want themselves. But I wanted to say this to you as well. Like this, it blows my mind, right? But you remember, like, obviously the 2018 Californian wildfires. And then we had in 2019, 2020, we had the Australian wildfires. That if you were to what you were just speaking about, with this government sort of one world governments to say that, and a part of the Agenda 21 and all this sort of stuff, but you can see what they're doing with these fires that you see in Turkey, you see in Greece, you see in the Amazon, you see in Asia, you see in Russia, you see in Australia, California, but they're all building this Hyperloop train system, and it's like I'm not saying that they're using direct energy weapons or anything like that, but if you hear,
I don't think they are, dude. It'd be a lot easier for them to just start, pay some people, hey, go do this, go take care of this, or special forces from other countries could do it. You wouldn't need dues. I think the whole do thing is a way to get people, because the amount of energy that it would take, because I've talked to people that worked in the military for 20 plus years and did like top secret projects and stuff, and they say that's freaking nuts. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but it would make a lot more sense to just send people out and do the shit, man.
Yeah. Well, even if that is the case, I mean, you hear, like I heard a lot of eyewitness reports say that, there was thunder and lightning caused the fires and stuff like that. But one in Australia was that there was like 160 arsonists. And you're just like, well, why aren't we arresting these people? Like there was 500 million animals that died. There was homes that were lost. Like, why aren't we going after the arsons? And it's like, squashed. And like, government comes into this land and takes over and goes, well, it's not safe to build back on. And the next minute you find out that they're building a Hyperloop, and you start to connect the dots. And it's just like, it's more and more clear that this is that sort of, they're flushing out from the rural areas and pushing people into these sort of city hubs where they can be tracked, traced, monitored, surveillanced, and that what you like to call it. Yeah.
Whole, you know what? Let's talk about this for a minute, since this is going to be part 2. This is going to be exclusive for the website. So we've got some great people watching this live on the website right now. Thank you all for being here with us. Most of this is going to go up on the YT, but the infusion of graphene and certain technologies, like, first of all, can you please show me the science, like real science, that injecting yourself with graphene and mRNA is going to prevent somebody else from getting a virus? Please show me real science. Okay. And then second of all, the mRNA thing and the graphene thing is really bizarre. Like, I've seen nanotechnology videos of graphene that are 10 years old where they talk about how it integrates with the cellular body and stuff. And I don't know enough about it to say it's going to destroy the human body immune system or what, because I don't know enough about it, but I can say it's really fucking weird. And it's also really bizarre that you're trying to like, if you want to mine a human body, which Microsoft's patent W0606006A1 is to mine the human body for digital currency and to take your movements and your thoughts and your emotions and everything they can mine from your body and turn it into a digital currency that's linked to a corporation, a centralized system that will then pay you when it deems you have done the task that you were supposed to do. And that could also be linked with your thoughts. But if they could integrate nanotechnologies into your body, then they're going to know if you've been injected. They're going to know what you've been injected with, and they're going to be able to track you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't even need your phone. And if they can figure out a way to pick up all the level, like all the chemicals in your body, the emotional, the chemicals that are produced by certain emotions and excitement and scared and happy and all this other stuff, this is them. They want to mine you. And this is their way, in my opinion, to harness the human body as some kind of, it's a part of their weird mining system. They want to merge you with the machine. They want to integrate you into this transhuman system, like with no identity. And I think this is a step to that.
Yeah, 100%. That was so deep. I love that. I'm going to play that back, Rex, and just listen to that so many times, because that was great. You know, you went so deep then. That's really just, it was amazing.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's almost like to say that they're trying to trap the human soul and to put them in a cloud. You know, like that is it. I've heard people speak about that as well. That is what they're trying to do. And you see the beginning phases of it. Maybe this is why we're all waking up. Maybe this is why it's classed as the Great Awakening. And you know the days of the apocalypse by the marking of the beast. Like maybe this is, as I said at the beginning, like it can't be by chance that we are 7.8 billion people on the planet as reincarnated souls. For what purpose other than to put a stop to this, and to wake up so that they can't do this? Or, do we accept it because this could be the next phase of evolution? Like, should we just accept it because evolution got us here? But it doesn't give them the right to go and play God, though. Like they can't go and play God. It's not up to CEO of Microsoft to play God on, whether we get this chance to live or not, or whether they do.
He loves you so much.
I know, it's crazy. It's you look at the whole eugenics line of it, and you hear the people talk, and they say that they've dumbed us down over generation and generation. And, you got people running for the big vax to get their life back, but they're literally saying to your face, you're not getting your old life back. And this is the new normal. And to socially distance, and you look at the social credit system, and what you just said, like this is all the beginning. Like it's not, it is the plan, and again, like with the Hyperloop and stuff like that, like they've just closed down. Like if you go onto like the live flight tracker and you have a look over Australia of the planes, like you could probably count maybe 50 planes. But if you go and look over sort of America, like there's a lot, but Australia is at a standstill. Like we are not locked down as bad as what they say we are, but it's pretty crazy that this is what we're witnessing in Australia right now, that we are restricted. They are preventing us from leaving states, and like I'm telling you, like you hear our ancestors all say that they fled a communist dictatorship, and it's like, I feel that I might need to flee Australia. Like if it gets that bad, it's so crazy. And, hey, look, the mRNA, like tracked and traced, like why else would we not need that technology in us? Like what are they not telling us? Like, with this sort of climate change hoax as well, with sustainability, like, is this so we're not producing as much as population control? Like where are they taking us? What are they doing to us? It doesn't appear good to me,
Here's some more of the reality of the live action role play here. But if you think about it, what isn't a live action role play? Because you've got virtual reality, which some people are dying to get to. And then you have real reality, which some people are living it up. And I think that's what we should embrace, is real reality versus virtual reality. Real reality can be so much cooler. It really can. And then there's super reality and hyper reality. And so with that being said, I love technology. I think technology is awesome. And if I had a chance to have like an interface with a quantum computer without having to
RoboCop
inject myself, if I could do it as a wearable, dude, give me the helmet, man. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
Whoa. But I'm not going to have somebody stick a chip in my brain and be like, well, we can take it out. It's a really minor process. Don't worry about it. Now, with that being said, this transitioning that we're seeing right now, or this attempt to capture as many people as they can for one side of the order, which they're going to call the new world order, because there's been many new world orders. And then there's going to be people that are going to be like, no, man, you're not going to hook me up to the machine. You're not going to stick something in my body that I don't know what it is. You're not going to use Nazi propaganda to get me to think that I'm the bad guy because I don't want to take an experimental injection that isn't even really a vaccine. It's who knows what it is. I mean, do you know what it is? You're administering it. Well, we've been told it's safe. Really? Well, then how come there's people out there that are in wheelchairs already after they've taken it? I have a dear friend that is actually a part of a group that's called the FRF. It's like the Freedom Restoration Project or something like that, or FRP. And there's somebody that's a part of that group that she said that person's daughter is in a wheelchair right now after getting this. I don't know which, if it was, I don't know which one it was.
AstraZeneca or Moderna, yeah.
Right, but really, like, this is, to me, I need to be careful what I say here, even on my website.
100%. 100%. Yep.
It makes me really, oh man, like
Suspicious?
Revelation is a
100%.
playbook for these people. They're like, let's take, because Revelation has happened before, folks. It's the stuff they talked about, like the mark of the beast and all that kind of stuff. That took place 2,000 years ago when Rome fell. Like they had that then. Now they've just got a new modern version of it. Now they're going to use your genetics, and they're going to hook you up with a quantum machine that's going to zap you like the pavilion dog when he went down the wrong tunnel. When you start thinking about freedom, zap. When you start thinking about, is that vaccine safe? Well, don't question that. Am I watching the right stuff on TV? Shut up and watch the news.
Don't do that again. Well, I mean, hey, could this explain the constant forcing of people getting tested and tested and tested? We need you tested, because what if they're trying to find the DNA of the second coming? Like.
That's or not even the second coming, the next coming, like the next avatar, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, will it be in human form? Like it could be anything, I mean, are they trying to recreate it so it's AI and that they've got the power to it? Is that what they're trying to do? Like, is that what they're trying to sort of recreate with all of these sort of prophecies that they're playing out with the sacrifices that they put onto the people? One prophecy sacrifice and all the numerology to it is 9/11 and everything we've seen last year. Like, I don't know the actual name of the Egyptian god. I maybe heard you speak about it, I'm not sure, but there was that one of them was like hacked up 14 times, and that these elites are trying
Osiris.
And that these elites are recreating, because they're all sort of Freemasons to say, and Freemasonry comes from don't quote me on it, you know what I'm trying to say, but through the
there's a lot of ancient knowledge in Freemasonry that goes to the ancient Egyptian times and such.
Yeah. So is it true to say that maybe they're recreating this as a way to get the power, to become gods within inside themselves through through this 14 sort of sacrifices on society to get the energies to relive it, like Blade, to say, like what they did with Blade in the movie Blade.
Think about Bezos for a minute and the Amazon logo. First of all, the Amazon logo is a penis. Folks, that's exactly what it is. It's not a banana. It's not an arrow pointing. It's a phallus. And Jeff Bezos, I mean, his head kind of looks like a dickhead. And I'm not saying that. That's my opinion. And but you got the shaved head. So, chicks dig shaved heads because it looks like a dick. And then you've got the, and this is League Project, man. It's got a little Howard Stern going on right now. But then he gets launched into space in a giant dick. Yeah. I mean, the rocket looks like a penis. So wait a second. What about the obelisk? The obelisk is supposed to be Osiris's penis that got cut off. Right. So I'm sensing this wannabe Osiris thing here.
Can you say that maybe he is not of human? He has been
one of the gods
hijacked to say. There are a few people that are in front of us on that. To me, if they were to turn on CERN, and CERN has now become a portal of darker forces, and if you can tap into a specific vibration through a sort of ritual or sacrifice or whatever that these elites circle are a part of, that maybe that if they have turned on CERN, darker forces are in to control and do all these things, that maybe he might be one of those that's hijacked. I mean, if you put him and Mark Zuckerberg side by side, like, they both look like a crazy CIA experiment. And, they don't look human. I don't think they get up and eat real human food in the morning. They look like they walk out of a chamber, and that they don't sleep in a bed, that maybe they sleep in like this upside down coffin, that's in this room with like crazy, you know what I mean? Like, but that's what they look like. That is what they sort of look like. And if you look at the powers that be, the billionaire club, like, these are the people in control. So where are they taking us? Because the people that are screaming for help, for unity and peace and love and to turn this ship around, aren't being heard. They're being suppressed. They're being censored. They're being masked. They're having their identity taken away. They're being fined. They're being threatened. They're being locked in their homes. Yet while one of the biggest hoax, you call it COVID, I like that name, while the biggest hoax of mankind is being played out, Bezos jumps in a rocket ship and goes and looks at the stars. Like, congratulations.
Dude, I gotta tell you, I can't blame him. Like, I don't have any beef with him, man. I mean, I just wonder, like, if he is literally, I thought that the other day when, as I was thinking about I don't know enough about him. I just know he's one of the richest dudes in the world. And I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon, and he went from having this digital book that started, and then everybody bought this digital book. And the next thing you know, he's got one of the biggest companies in the world. Like, I can't blame him for launching, going in a rocket. I would actually make a rocket more like a sports car, though, because sports cars are sexy, right? Sports car, but maybe he's just trying to show his like male dominance somehow, or maybe it's all just a big coincidence. I don't know. But you could troll people with that, right? I mean, how would you not see that? How would you not realize that your rocket looks like a giant penis? I just don't like. He had to know.
You've obviously seen the memes floating around with like the coincidence with him and Dr. Evil.
Oh, I did see that video where he came out of the rocket and he was laughing just like Dr. Evil. Yes. They sounded very similar. Once again, this is my opinion. He's like, whoa.
Has Hollywood been subliminally programming us through all different, outcomes throughout our life? Because the media lies, Hollywood tells the truth. Like, are they sort of projecting this? And by the power of the collective, we could tap into that and we could recreate that, like, maybe this is why they shut down conspiracy theories, because if they shut it down, then that won't be exposed in a sense of being the truth. That's why they just dumb you down and just feed you with the lie, with the illusion,
But a lot of conspiracy theories are lies and illusion too. So you got to be real careful, because a lot of times conspiracies are worse than the mainstream bullshit.
Well, that's it. There's misinformation everywhere. And you've just got to, like, I believe now that, like, I don't tap into it at all. I create my own reality, right? Like, I don't buy into what I see because it's just a projection. It doesn't exist in my life. Like, whatever we see is now on our phones, where, like, we see all the stuff that's going on in the world, but it's here. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a projection. So if we tap out of that, put that down, all change. Like, if we were to all put the phone down or put down where it's broadcasted to us, it wouldn't exist. Do you know what I mean? Because we are the creators of our own life. So, like, that is what we all need to sort of focus our time on and focus our energy on, rather than sort of being up to date. What's going on? Oh, when's the latest update? When are we allowed to do this? Because we're taking parts of what's being projected now in our hand and putting it into our own lives. Like, we're all getting tested for this virus, to say it's us that's getting tested, that's bringing it into our reality now, you know what I mean? So it's gone mad. The world's gone mad. Yeah.
It's exciting. And if you're not crazy in this world, then you're fucking crazy, because this world has gone mad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where I was going there was like, as long as we tap out of it and don't create it ourselves and create it, we can shift this, we can shift it into where we need to take it. to fight back, to say.
What would you do if you were a billionaire? Like, what's the first big thing you would do?
I'd probably have a ranch, a community and a ranch and an operation that's for sustainability and to sort of give back and show the people what we truly are within and what we are deep down within, because that to me is I think is more important, change starts within. Okay. So if I had $1 billion, I'm not going to go and do what everyone else does and buys a Lamborghini, I'll go, I'll buy an electric vehicle. Like, I'll do something that's different, because again, change starts within, right? It's not climate change. We're going age of Pisces, age of Aquarius. It's changed. The sun comes up, the moon it comes up, stuff like that. It's changed, constant change. Until we can accept that we need to change, we can't be like everyone else. So that is what I'd do if I had the $1 billion. That to me would find me in a peace, in a happiness. You're not going to find happiness in the 3D external world. It's all just sort of a facade, to say, or masking. That would be it, to build a ranch. And surprisingly, this is the operation I'm trying to form with my channel, and my business now is the game experience. I'm trying to form that community. I actually don't drink. I haven't drank for 2.5 years. I use the word sober, but sober doesn't put me in the category that I'm trying to sort of speak on. But what I've noticed, with anybody that drinks alcohol and stuff like that, and this ties into my ultra running and my running events, that my life back then, if I drank and smoked cigarettes and just led an unhealthy life, I could never have seen myself running the events that I've ran. And my first running event was 10 kilometers, and then I went to 14, and so on and so forth. So
what was that ultra marathon you did? How many kilometers was that?
130.
Wow, that's about 65 miles, isn't it?
Yeah. So how does the mile thing work? So
probably closer to 70. Let me look that up.
Yeah, I think it's one mile is 1.6 kilometers. So yeah, so close enough. But yeah, so
80.7783 miles.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude. That's like 3 marathons. How long did it take you to do that?
Well, it was a staged event, not staged. It was a stage event. So, like one stage was 20 Ks, the next one was 40, the next one was 35. And then the next one was 31. And then the last one was 35.
Was that all in one day though, or was that over the course of a few days?
It was over a couple of days. So the first one we ran was at nighttime, and then the next one was sort of the next day. So, within space of themselves, it went over a couple of days, but it's, but
you got to have not only awesome cardio for that, but your joints and your knees have to be like titanium alloy.
Well, one thing is that I noticed that you see a lot of older people that do it, and it's, like I'm only 38, and I see these older people and they overtake me, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And you find that we're doing more and more of them. You get the experience and you understand, it all boils down to nutrition, and trying to time the food intake, trying to time the water intake. Like on stage 2, it was 40 kilometers. And one of the mountain sort of that we had to climb, it was like over 1 kilometer, just straight up. And the next day, I was dehydrated and I peed a specific color, and I spoke to a medic, and they're like, oh, that's your muscles that you're peeing out because you didn't hydrate enough. And you're just like, oh my God, I nearly killed myself yesterday and I didn't even know. So
burning muscle. Because it had your body had to find an energy source. It's like fat is gone, must eat muscle.
Yeah.
Dude.
Well, it was like my kidneys like just saying to me, "You're about to die. Sort yourself out." But what I was trying to say with sort of like my journey to say is that is everything I've learned from that and through my doing yoga and meditation and changing my life to say and how it plays out in the game experience of choice and frequencies and vibrations and tapping into that sort of version that I've tried to form this community now through the game experience, now creating it into a business to show people, that there's more to life than what we think with all the chaos and madness that's sort of projected in the world today. And forming a community now that's an operation, where I've merged into sort of cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, and a few other bits and pieces, and yeah, I've gone within over the last couple of years, and now it's sort of time I sort of shared on what I've sort of learned within myself. So that's probably why I'd choose that when you said about the $1 billion, because I'm actually doing that now in my life to say where, yeah.
You wouldn't build a giant penis rocket ship and launch into space?
No, I probably wouldn't. But if there was a RoboCop version of a giant bolt-on one, I might.
Hello. Right on, man. Right on. That's RoboCop. That was really awesome. That's way cooler than a spaceship, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Look, they're trying to merge us with machines, merge us with machines with new creation. That is the old way of creating. So why not?
Hello. You must have been like H.R. Geiger, I'm thinking of, or H.R. Giger right now. You've seen his stuff, right?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
Just when we get done, just type in H.R. Geiger. He's the guy that came up with Aliens and the a lot of the characters of Aliens, right? The face suckers. And he's one of the most fascinating artists of all time. But he would incorporate, I think he was way ahead of his time, man, because he would merge like these hot chicks with machines that you'd look at it first, you'd be like, whoa. And then you'd be like, whoa. And then you'd be like, whoa. And it's very fascinating, man. I think he was like tapping into alternative realities, like literally like different dimensions and stuff.
So what's your take on sort of this? Like where do you see, like, not saying where we're going. I'd like to just, what do you honestly believe that all this is, where we come from, where we're heading in like a bit of a,
Well, in my opinion, I think that there are forces that, like I said, are a part of this power structure, and they believe that they are like the chosen ones, and they believe that they are descendants of the gods, and they have created this network of industries, from science to technology to the archaeological discoveries that they share with us, and the education systems and the media and the mafias and the medical industrial mafia complex and the militaries and the politicians. They've all got them underneath their umbrella, like some connection that gives them authority over them, whether somebody does a ritual that makes them think they're giving their soul to the devil, or they do something really nasty, or they've got blackmail on them or something like that, or they just have money to pay them off, or they create something that makes them think they're doing the right thing and they trick them in some way, or they're part of some secret society that makes them think that they're one of the chosen ones. But it's like there's a very few controlling at the top, at these higher levels. And in this transition in the age of Aquarius, people are starting to wake up to their true potential, and they don't want that. So they're attempting to collect as many souls and as many people as they can do without overstepping their boundaries, because they can manipulate extremely well. There's still certain boundaries that keep them a part of specific orders. But yes, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be connected to the machine, and they're going to go to work and they're going to swipe their hand, and that's going to see if they've been, like everything they did the night before, what they drank, what they ate, what's in their body, and it's going to be connected to their currency. It's going to be connected to their social credit system. There's going to be that. And then there's going to be people, and there's going to be entire states and possibly entire nations of people. They're going to be like, fuck you. We're going to do our thing, and we're going to come up with innovation our own ways. And we're not going to be an experiment to some psychopaths that are underneath these beings that think they control us. So you're going to have opposing factions, and then you're going to have people that are going to be Jedis, dude. You're going to have people that are going to come out, like they're going to be able to like say stuff into existence, and people are going to it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
That's what I mean. The whole concept of a Jedi as well, or even the Star Wars itself, with the dark forces. I mean, that is true to say. I mean, even like, the civilization being broken down and sectioned off into zones, a bit like a Hunger Games society. Like I think that's where we all need to form community, because I think that's where this is shifting, where we've all got a choice in life. What are we going to choose to do? We're going to choose to plug into the machine, or we're going to choose to do what we need to do for the change factor, the climate, factor, the sustainability, all these things. I know, I'm sure America was looking at sort of food shortages and stuff like that. Like here in Australia, people are panic buying. I mean, if you can't see that 2020 and globally the word panic buy was used, and people were fleeing out of shopping centers with toilet paper and foods were scarce. Like if we haven't seen that in 2020, that society doesn't have a huge issue, if that's how they act, not even on a real, like in a pandemic, like imagine there was a real catastrophe, that was Mother Nature to say that shut out food for 1 month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like how long could we survive for? And everything that we're seeing with all the food issues and stuff like if it hasn't exposed how weak we are as a society and how we need to get back in tune with ourselves and become sustainable, have chickens, have a veggie garden, I've just gotten into bow hunting, so I'm going to try and have access to deer meat and stuff like that. But yeah, like this is what we need to do, like it's we're at a time where we have to accept it.
And I think that there's some billionaires out there that are probably white hats. I sure hope so, and as much there's you either love him or you hate him, or you don't know Elon Musk, right? I'm fascinated with much of what he says. I'm also, I question a lot of what he says, but one of the things that's interesting is he is totally anti Bill Gates vaccine. And he's made it very clear. He's like, you're not going to put that shit in me. So at least he has an idea of how much mRNA can affect the human body. And dude, I was blogging about this 10 years ago about the Pentagon wanting to go with mRNA technologies and eliminate antibiotics. And now they're doing it in vaccines, and they're bragging about gene therapy technologies. And they're like, oh, look, we wanted to make these CRISPR people. And all we did, though, because we could do anything we want, all we did was we just made sure that they didn't get malaria or something real stupid, right? Like, why not if you're going to make a CRISPR human, why not make them like have freaking jetpack that like automatically pops out of their back and then can go back in, and then like laser beams come out of their eyeballs, and they can walk through like fire pits, and they can just go like this and then start floating because somehow they got magnetics hooked up to their DNA. I don't know, but like all you're doing is, oh well, we just wanted to make sure that they weren't colorblind, so that's what we did with their DNA when we made them. And I'm like, that just sounds like fluff to me.
Yeah. You know what? You look at Elon Musk as well, and what does he want to do? He wants to go to colonize Mars. And if you look at sort of the story behind CERN and opening up a portal, and this dark force of Saturn's come out of CERN from Mars, and this sort of urge to get back to Mars, you kind of ask yourself, well, again, you look at what I was saying about how Bezos looks. Keep going. I'll wait till you come back. Yeah, you have a look at how Bezos looks. Zuckerberg, is Elon Musk in the same sort of cult, the CIA program cult. But you look at, are they trying to flee to Mars to get back to their homeland? with everything that he's trying to do with the colonizing. But you're right. Like he doesn't want a part of it, and he knows where this is heading. And you can hear him speak when he's like, he goes like, all it will take is World War III and society is doomed. And, this is why we need to colonize Mars. But if you have a look at everything he's just done over the last, say, 12 months, he's sold a lot of his stuff. And if you try and, you look at the concept of the Great Reset and you own nothing and you'll be happy. I mean, has he sort of surrendered to the idea that maybe there's nothing that can stop this, and that's why he's sold all of his things? Like, he's sold a lot of his property and stuff, and a lot of the materialistic items that he has. Like, is he knows, maybe he's preparing and getting ready. And this is why, like someone said to me that there's sort of like this portable home container sort of design that these not manufacturers that went out of business, but these manufacturers made, and they just ran out of stock because he bought it all. And there was like little rumors that has he been sending these sort of container portable sort of space homes out into space to escape this and flee this. And, you look at everything that Alex
Mars.
Jones says. Yeah, well, exactly. But like, like Elysium, like that whole design, like that's what they're doing clearly.
By the time, see, and that's another thing. By the time it gets to technologies are becoming so advanced now that when I see these cyborgs that are walking around that, they've got like, oh, I have to add another arm here. Okay, let's go. That's going to be kind of barbaric. I mean, you're going to have stuff that's going to be so advanced that you're just going to be like, oh shit, I lost my arm. And then all of a sudden this nanotech is like, and then you're going to be like, do. And you're going to have missiles coming out of your fingers that are like heat seekers. And it's just going to be so much more advanced than the whole, all right, let's go. Tank on body now. That's my opinion, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's still a cool movie, man.
2038, you reckon?
Oh, dude, I think by 2038, unless there's a major shift. Well, no, you're right. There might be people out there, but there's also going to be technologies in 2038 that if you go into the Ray Kurzweil theory of the singularity, where by 2035 approximately, machines are going to be so fast and so advanced that they're going to outperform all of the processing power that every human brain connected on the planet has. So that's taking it up a notch. But with that being said, will everybody have access to that technology, or just a select few?
Well, can I ask you one question there, Rex?
Yeah.
What if we're all just creating this ourselves? What if we are just creating, like everything that you said then, like you put that into thought, right? So again, I go back to what I said at the beginning, like through thought, all things were created. That was your thought. So if we don't want that scenario, should we all stop thinking about it? Because we have to think about like counter Terminators, right? We have to think about the hero's journey, because it's a hero's journey, man. So it's like, okay, we got Terminator, they're Transformers and all this stuff, but then you got the Autobots to offset the Decepticons. So it's this duality of our journey. Yeah.
If you stop thinking about if you stop, like for me, if I quit thinking about that kind of stuff, I just wouldn't be me anymore, dude. That's like, I'm riding on my bike and I'm thinking about how nanotechnology is going to find some way to interlink with people. And then this extraterrestrial consciousness from a different dimension is going to be able to integrate with it and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, dude.
That's what's crazy. I mean, have you seen the movie The Fifth Element? Yeah. I remember when I first seen that
movie. Yeah.
I remember when I first seen that, I'm not sure if it was late 90s. Sorry. I don't know if it was 98 or 99 it came out, or whether I seen it in the early 2000s, but I seen that and I'm like, wow, I wish it was 3,000 years for, I think that was like 32 or 24. It was meant to be like, I was just like, wow, I wish that time was now. And when you look at how close we're starting to get into that, and whether the mRNA and all this, like, it's like, is this reality that's being played out, even though it appears dark, and that what they're trying to do is to merge us with the machines? Like, is this not being played out? Like, this is my childhood fantasy, to being a RoboCop, like you said. Like, you'd go RoboCop. Like, I'd go RoboCop. I'd go Elysium. I'd go all these things. Like, is this all about childhood fantasies all being played out? Yeah, Robodong. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Dude. That, it's interesting. So let's think about this for a minute then. Are we experiencing a simulation that is being written as we are experiencing it? Or is it like this soup of consciousness, and the more we raise our knowledge of just everything that we experience, the more we can manipulate this soup of consciousness?
Well, I think we can manipulate it, but we are what we consume. Like, I could go out in nature and take my shoes off and walk in the dirt and the sand and take all my clothes off and just connect with nature, and that is what I've created. That's what I consumed, and that is what my reality. But if I go down a rabbit hole of cyborg and all these types of stuff, then then that might be my reality as well from what I've consumed. So, it's all whatever we choose to tap into. So I mean, maybe it's safe to say that we have a wild ride ahead of us, and to maybe perhaps buckle up. So I don't know the best way to answer that for you, but yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be.
America.
You want to be what? So you want to be Captain America?
I want to be Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Iron Man's cool, but when Captain America and Iron Man were battling it out, it's because Stark was going to sell out to the UN, and Captain America was like, "No, dude, it's about freedom," and they beat the shit out of each other. But I think they both kind of realized after that it was a Marvel movie, and they set the script, so they were like, "Yeah."
Well, we can become. We can become that if we tap into that frequency. We can. Reincarnation is real, and we could become that. Like, look at The Rock. He is pretty much Hercules, to say, right?
Right,
like,
dude.
Right. So I'm sure if we were to I don't know, like, just probably meditate for 10 years straight, we may be able to tap into that version, or I don't know. It sounds a little bit woo-woo, but anything's possible when you go within. Like, you can alter your timeline completely.
Yeah, man. Well, and that's another interesting thing, is that recent article, scientific article, about how they have found these neurons that light up in your brain when you think about time in a linear fashion, and they think it's these synapses and these neurons that are actually creating your time. And if that's the case, then you could manipulate time just with certain chemicals and inducing specific brain reactions, which is quite fascinating to think about. But that's could be way off too. Who freaking knows, man? We're in the Matrix, dude. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's coming to us, isn't it? Like, we're tuning into that consciousness, where we're definitely tapping into it somewhere. And maybe in time, we may be able to be enlightened by it, like what we were saying before about the dark forces are trying to trap our spirits in the cloud. How do we not know that the light forces aren't trying to trap us in the cloud of consciousness? Like, again, right. It's clear that this is a spirit war, it's a race war, it's a war on our consciousness. Like, maybe this is sort of like the blueprint or the secret to what they say we're going to upgrade into the age of Aquarius. Like, this is maybe the 5D in consciousness that we're going to get. Like, we will tap into source, the creator. And I mentioned about the breath work, with going within and you tap into God. You know that you're love. You know that you're God. You know that you're creation within. What if we all just kept going within, and we tap into consciousness, like, like
keep going in until you pop out of the sky, right? Like and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're next to the star constellations and such. So it's like we're looking out there, but we're looking in here. Or vice versa.
Yeah. It's funny. I hear a lot of people speak about when they astral project or projection, the astral projection and stuff. And some people say that they can't get past outer Earth. Some people say that they go to the moon. You have?
Yeah, I've been way past it. Oh yeah. Matter of fact, the best experience I ever had on out of body experience was I pushed myself out as far as I could. And I got so far out, dude, that I felt like I was looking at the entire universe. And it was about the size
did you do that?
of, I just kept pushing myself, man. Because I'll give you a book. It's called The 90-Day Guide to Astral Projection. It's beautiful. You follow those steps and you will have an out of body experience. And the first time I had one was when I was going to sleep and I hadn't even studied it. It was way back in the day. And I was just falling asleep and I popped out of my body and it scared me. And then I woke back up and then I started to fall asleep again. And then I popped out of my body and it scared me so much I woke myself up again. But anyway, after that, I started to study it and research it and practice it. And I haven't been doing it much lately. But a few years ago, I went so far out, dude, that like it's kind of like, imagine those movies that you watch where you've got bird's eye view, but you'll start on the earth and then you'll zoom out and then you'll go past the moon, then you'll go past the planets, and then you go past like all these different star clusters and stuff like that. It was kind of like that. But once I got to the furthest point out, it was this really warm feeling. And I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. And there's like this blue aura around a whitish colored ball. And it just felt like I was looking at the entire universe. I wasn't outside of it, but I was at the same time, man. It was. Is
the blue orb the pineal gland chakra or the?
No, that's the top chakra's
purple,
violet, purple. Yeah.
So
yeah.
blue. So
what I saw was white, like a white ball like this, and then about the size of a grapefruit, maybe, and then around it was a blue hue.
Yeah, right. You have to tell me. You have to tell me the name of that
anybody
book
that says they've never been past the earth.
Well, that's what
they've never been past the earth. Just say try harder.
Well, that's what I was going to say about that. Like I think in 2013, I sort of what I believe I projected myself and I only got as far as sort of the clouds, but I didn't understand what had happened until after I heard others speak about what happens, that you sort of get this sort of golden sort of elevator projection that follows you, like a pyramid shape that's like like that, and that, and then I was sort of shown sort of another entity, and it's like I projected up to the clouds, and then this other entity just zoomed in and came straight at me. That was like a brown faced, which looked like it was definitely another entity, whether it was like a part of my sort of higher self, like this other, it was definitely another being. Like I'll send you a photo after this of what it actually looked like. I don't know the actual, because you got the Greys and is it the Archons, and you got all these different names of these space beings. The Pleiadians and stuff like that. And it come to me and then it vanished. And then probably a couple of weeks later, I was telling somebody the story and piecing it all together. And one of the things that they say with astral projection is that you do get that golden sort of projection. And if you are willing and when you are ready to accept this other being, that they will then come to you, but you've got to be accepting to it and open to it. And it came to me, and I wasn't shocked, but it was like as soon as they realized that I was there, that they vanished. But I thought that within the astral projection side of it, that in the firmament theory, that we could never escape beyond that, and we could not get to space. But you said that you've had that experience, so gets to the whole idea of the whole prison planet concept. But yeah, I'd be interested in that book that you said of reading that and giving the projection a go myself, because if you can tap into that and go for a bit of a wild ride, it's interesting.
An out-of-body experience is one of the most, if not the most amazing thing you'll ever do. I mean, sex is amazing. This is also amazing. So I'm thinking to myself, folks, if you ever want to have a truly just out-of-body experience, have an out-of-body experience. Try it. Do your follow the protocols. And the best way to do it is as you're going to sleep. Because as you're going to sleep, like your mind is your mind and your body are going to sleep. But if you can keep your mind awake and your body asleep, and there's certain mantras you can say, like, I am more than my physical body. I'm more than my physical body. I'm more than my physical body. And then you do this like energy work where you'll project your consciousness, for example, from your fingertip to your toe. And then you can start making like you can get a ruler and put the ruler like this on your skin. And you'll just kind of feel that, as you move the ruler up and down, or just something to feel like that, or even your finger like this. And then you visualize it, and you feel it back and forth while you're not doing it. And that starts to activate your energy body. And you start off like getting rid of, I guess, stuff that's a part of your energy body that's not supposed to, but you go through like this filtering process. And then you do something in the morning and you do the mantras, and then at night and you do the mantras, and you follow this energy work. And within the first 7 to 10 days, I would say even, you will start like, as you'll do what's called consciousness projection, where you bounce your self off of the walls. Like you'll try and feel what it feels like to bounce yourself off the wall back and forth. And then you can do like the rope technique. There's the elevator technique, but you're just visualizing this, and you're adding as much of your sensory perception to it as you can as you're going to sleep. And that's how you pop out, dude. And actually you'll know when you're about ready to pop out, when it feels like your bed's shaking, but it's not. If you've got a cat or a dog, and if you ever had a cat or a dog in your bed and it's like scratching itself or something like that, that's what it feels like right before you leave your body.
So it takes a bit of time to get to that point.
Unless it happens the way it did with me the first time, when it was just totally natural and I was extremely tired, but my mind was still awake somehow and my body fell asleep, and that's when I popped out. And that's actually the most common time is when people are right about to fall asleep. So with your ultra marathons and stuff that you do, right? You're working out and you're doing all this intense exercise. Then you get home and you're about ready to fall asleep. And if you can find a way to keep your mind awake as your body falls asleep, that's when you can pop out of your body.
Yeah. I done a meditation yesterday, and I went to a place that was, when I came to, I'm like, it felt like I just opened up a door, went to a different realm and explored it, and come back. And I was just full of just like all this inner peace. And I'm like, that took me somewhere then, I think I had some theta brainwave music playing, I think. And I went somewhere, and I mean, it's fascinating if you can tap into this, and it's all like, there's all things you've got to do to be able to sort of get to that sort of phase. The water's full of chemicals and our toothpaste and stuff. You start to eliminate all that stuff, and, go whole foods and plant-based a bit, and start to sort of get grounded within yourself. And so it'll end up opening up these sort of doorways where you can go and explore yourself, and it's not woo-woo, like it's ancient sort of traditions speak of it. People that have ayahuasca experiences speak about it. And like the human being is a very powerful tool. And it can do some fascinating things, and, we're taught, things from the past of gods and all types of beings and things have done it. Why can't we do it? It's very humbling if you can. And I love it. I try and meditate every day and just see where it takes me. But sometimes, you don't get that free ticket to the cosmos. So it always takes work to get there. Like anything. And like anything, you got to put in the work and then you get the reward. So, but then when you get the reward with this type of stuff, it's like, oh damn it! Like I wasn't taking notes. I wasn't ready that time.
Oops. Did you get that on film, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But like all of that, like, you know, I found myself coming out of some of these sort of meditations and whatnot and getting like downloads of information of what's going on around the world. And I did say that, you know, before, like I felt like I was tapping into the dark forces and stuff. And it was starting to freak me out a little bit. And yeah, I keep going on to saying why I started my channel and stuff, like to speak about it. But it's actually good speaking to you, because like
that's really cool.
I've tried to reach out to so many people that understand all of this, you know, and just sort of express like, this is what I've been dealing with. And this is sort of, you know, and yeah, so finally getting the opportunity to speak to somebody that makes sense with all of this type of stuff. And, you know, like you're the first person that's actually I've spoken to one-on-one that's actually said about the projection thing, you know, and I believe that that's normal. And you speak to anyone else and they'll say it's crazy. Yeah, so.
It's a small percentage of us that use our brain and actually think for ourselves and do the research versus somebody that just watches something on the news and they're like, yeah, that's wrong, man. They said so. You're like, well, show me the science. I don't have to. I saw it on the Communist News Network. Oh, okay. CNN. All right, you're right. Everything on CNN is completely legit. It's to the point of diminishing returns now. So a lot of times I'm like, I used to, like, I would just give my heart and soul and try and wake somebody up in that, you know, and now I'm like, I'll give them an opportunity and see where they go with it. But if they don't want it, man, hey, it's not my, you know, hey, have a wonderful day. You can drink aspartame or you can have organic. It's up to you.
Well, that's it. I mean, look, you know, you can't wake the whole world up. And if you have a message to say and you wake that one person up, as long as you reach an audience of one person or you change that one person's life, you know, some people are going to be accepting to it. You know, these are the people in society that take the blue pill daily. You know, some people want the blue pill. Not everybody wants the red pill. Nobody wants to escape the matrix, you know, like it's all choice. You know, I can't force my choice onto you, or I can't force my beliefs onto you. It's up to you to be ready. It's up to you to accept it. It's up to you to take it all on board. And that's that. And, you know, if you don't, and we don't see eye to eye, there's no need to hate each other. There's no need to attack each other. There's no need to scream with rage that you're an anti-masker or an anti-vaxxer or like Black Lives Matter, turn it down, rah. Like there's no need that we need to express that out into the world, that toxicity, that negativity, that, you know, that mental illness projection that you know, the Communist News Network that tells us that is normal and it's peaceful and, oh, you act that way, don't worry, come over here because we've got the tablet just for you to keep you further asleep, keep you further trapped in the matrix, poison your mind even more. You know, hey, come over here to our cult. We will welcome you and accept you, you know, and not only will we welcome you and accept you, we've created trigger words for you to use so you know where you fit in society. When we find those that speak the truth, we can point the finger and label them as conspiracy theorist or anti-vaxxer or anti-masker. Hey, come over here, guys. We've already formed the cult. You're welcome. You know, and that's that.
Would you? And we'll give you $100 if you want to change your DNA with some extra graphene. And you've been holding out. We've offered you free weed. We've offered you free donuts, free beer, and you haven't taken it yet. So now we're going to give you $100. What do you say?
No, not only that, we'll give you a free Krispy Kreme. Here's some poison. Boom, straight in your arm.
Stick it right in there. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Your DNA sucks anyway. We need to alter it. Okay. No thanks. My mind is not for rent to any or any government. And I think that we have a choice to think for ourselves. And capital G gave us something inside of ourselves to embrace. So, dude, how do people get in contact with your work? How do they hear your podcast? How do they
Well, I mean, look, my podcast and my channel is only small. Like I'm trying to, grow it to say, I do, I can just, share you my links, but, because the channel is small, if you were to look it up on YouTube, the channel is called The Game Experience. I do have a link tree which connects me to my Instagram, and I do have a backup channel which I'm trying to grow because of some of the the YouTube sensitive content. We're trying to just things you can't say. So did develop a couple of strikes where I was trying to now grow this new channel, because I mean my whole message is so we be better and inspire and share awareness and waking people up, where I want to speak to people that seek greatness and want to make change in the world. So I've had to now form this backup channel, but yeah, the Game Experience, I can send you the links, and anybody that wants to reach out and speak to me, like I've started this for community, on the purpose of speaking and interacting with people and reaching out to people. And, some of the topics that interest me, like there is so much. I know one guy that you got on, Ra, is that what he calls him? That I hear some of the things that he speaks about, and I'm very interested in some of the things that he says. And, I'm not saying that, is just a shout out for him to hear me, but I'd like to talk to him and get some info on what he ties it.
I'll send him your email.
Yeah, of course. Because I mean, like, and all that stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff fascinates me. I want all the information I can get and create what I'm trying to create. So yeah, but I'll send you everything of mine. And yeah, anybody who wants to reach out, say good day, talk on camera, I'm open to the guests. And Rex, look, I love what you do, and I love what you formed and created and built. I love your journeys that you've been going on, and your little Tomb Raider investigations. I just label it as Tomb Raider, but like going and looking at the little adventures you've been going on lately. And yeah, I mean, I've been a subscriber and a follower and a fan for many years. And yeah, and I really appreciate this having the opportunity to speak, and it was an honor. And yeah, ever so grateful. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. And your name reminds me of speaking of the Matrix. Guy plays the Matrix, and he plays in this film also. John Wick.
Well, my name's Jonathan.
Whoa,
my name.
Oh my gosh! It took me that long to figure this out. Holy shit! I'm slow today. Wow. My name's like John Wick, dude.
My name's Jonathan Chadwick, and we have John Wick behind me. And hey, man, if this was a simulation, and if this was a, what character do I want to be? Well, I mean, maybe this guy behind me is of that,
Keanu Reeves is a legend, man. And so funny that it's right there. And I'm in such deep, like, we're having this conversation. I'm like, wait a second. I'm looking at your name, Chadwick. And I'm like, Jonathan Chadwick. What does that remind me of? John Wick. And then you've got the poster behind you. And anyway, folks, yeah. Hello. It's hot in the van, dude. I turned it off. I got no AC in here.
I'm heating up too. I'm heating up too. So,
well, let's finish this up. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with us on the Leak Project. Thank you for watching the podcast. Be excellent to each other. Click up the video description box so you can look at the links and you can listen to the man, the myth, the legend, Jonathan Chadwick, like John Wick.
Good night and thank you.
Right on, man. Cheers, brother. Thank you.